if that music video meant anything to you, you're gonna love the game that just came out in April called Crab Champions, which was developed and produced by the same exact DJ that created the Crab Rave sensation that you all know and love, and I personally just really jam out to that song a lot. It's a blast. Crab Champions is a multiplayer roguelite shooter that just honestly is such a fun time to play with friends, play by yourself, and it's really just a very relaxing game in general. Hopping into it, you'll find yourself on this nice island that kind of explains the whole game to you. You'll see a bunch of different weapons all over the place that are currently locked when you start, but you'll be able to unlock them pretty easily. You'll be able to test out each different gun. You can shoot it at this little skull that's here that shows you how much DPS you're doing. You'll be able to see the achievements you have unlocked. You'll be able to change your cosmetics. You can change the color of your crab, and you're also able to do a couple jump puzzles that kind of teach you how to play the game basically in itself. Also on this island, you're going to see a couple different totems that give you a couple options. One is to invite players into your lobby. You're able to play with your friends, which is really fun, I have to say. You also have one that changes your difficulty. In this game, you have 3 different difficulties. There's easy, which makes it significantly easier for you. You have more HP, enemies deal less damage, there's less enemies, things of that nature. If you just want to test out builds or maybe just really enjoy the game, easy is really fun. There's normal, which is just, you know, your base gameplay. Things aren't too difficult, but it's not like so easy where you're always going to win it. And there's lastly Nightmare, which is basically the opposite of easy. You know, mobs have increased HP, they deal extra damage, you deal less damage, you have less HP. And while it's not, you know, insanely difficult, it will definitely make the game a little bit harder for you, but in a comfortable region. It's not something that's like so ridiculously impossible that, you know, your average player can't play it. I think it's just if normal's too easy, play Nightmare. On this island, you'll be able to see those 12 weapons that I was talking about. These weapons are going to give you just different play styles depending on how you want to play the game. There's a wide range of weapons, including some, you know, really unique ones to the game. You got pistols, you got dual shotguns, you know, auto shotgun, sniper, miniguns, things like that. And then there's also a couple special ones like the blade launcher, the orb launcher, which shoots little orbs. They honestly looks like Orbeez. Makes a really nice sound when you shoot it too. I really do appreciate that. And then you also have a crossbow, which in itself super bad, but it's a really fun gun to use if you want to have a good time and kind of a challenge. And you can just pick any one of these weapons. You can unlock them after you finish any run. You don't have to complete the run. Just once the run ends, you'll be able to go to this little totem, click E, and it'll unlock a new weapon for you. It's randomized, so you can't pick which weapon that you want to unlock, but it still just makes it more fun in my opinion. Just hopping into the game, you will find yourself on this really nice island that might remind you of the Crab Rave music video, and you'll be faced against a bunch of different enemies ranging from crabs of different elemental nature, slugs, skulls, and there's even, for some reason, pumpkins in this game. I don't know why. Maybe he just loves Halloween, but I'm all for it. And you'll have to destroy these enemies depending on which type of round you're in. For these rounds, you'll have a couple different types. There's Arena, where you'll just have to defeat all the enemies. There's Horde, where you'll have a certain amount of time that you have to exist. You don't have to kill a certain amount of enemies, you just have to like live until the timer runs down. And then lastly, you'll have Parkour, which depending on which biome you're in, you'll have a different racetrack, and these racetracks you'll get to just jump along and make sure, you know, parkour all over the place. It's pretty much just a platformer level, and when you get to the end, you get an item. So it's really fun. It's a nice little like break if you're maybe low on HP or something like that. Makes it kind of calm down. It's really fun. As you progress through these games, you will get a choice every single time you go into a new round, and these choices will kind of impact which perks you're able to see. So we have a couple different choices. You can go with damage, you can go with speed, luck, random, upgrade, elemental, and also critical. And depending on which one you go into, you will get certain perks. There are 3 different types of perks. You have your gun perks, you have your perks for your own character, and then you also have grenade perks. These are all pretty straightforward. Your gun perks are going to impact your weapon, so like maybe you'll be getting increased clip size, maybe you'll be increased weapon size, like the gun bullets themselves are larger. You can get bouncing bullets, you can get bullets of different elemental natures, things like that. Moving on to the grenade mods, pretty straightforward. Your grenade is its own ability, so you don't have to like, you know, manage your grenades. You pretty much have a grenade every 5 seconds. And these grenade mods will change the grenade, make it maybe explode larger, different element. There's a lot of really fun legendary mods for each one of these 3 types, and they all do some really crazy things like explode out with blades all over the place. Lastly, you have the perks for your character, and these perks are going to impact things like how many dashes you have, how much HP you have, the damage that you get. There's things that are like damage over time, so when you complete an island, which is what the rounds are called, you play on each individual island, you're able to increase your damage at the end of it, things of that nature. And as you hop along, you'll run into bosses. So every 10 rounds, there's going to be a boss at the end of it, and these bosses are elites that have increased HP, they do some special abilities, and they're just maybe 50% harder than your average mobs. And once you defeat these enemies, you get some nice loot and you're able to move on to the next biome. So every 10 rounds is a new biome. You'll start with the tropical, you'll move into an icy zone, and then after the icy zone, you will move into a lava magma area. At the end of 30 rounds, once your build is kind of really popping off, you will run into like a big boss. This boss is going to have a really nice chunky HP bar. It's going to be very reminiscent of those bosses that you had seen in the previous rounds, just much larger. It's going to have some additional features and skills, and they are a lot harder to kill basically. But once you are able to defeat it, you have two choices, which you can end the game, you'll get a dub, you'll get a crown, or if you want, you can continue on and go through those same 30 levels that you just did, but with increased difficulty. You know, there's more mobs, they have more HP, everything scales with you, and you can do this indefinitely. If you're specifically going for like an achievement or something like that, or maybe you just want to win one, you can always stop there. But if you do go on and you don't unfortunately make it to round 60, for example, that whole round will be a loss even though you won on round 30. While it might seem tempting to just, end your run at 30, I will say that going on to round 200 and round 300, things of that nature, are extremely, extremely fun. That's when you get into the really wonky, like, roguelike situations where your screen is just buffering, you have so much going on, it's just a blast, there's damage numbers all over the place. It is, I think, the, like, epitome of why this genre is so fun, especially shoot 'em up games. It's just really, really appealing to have big numbers on your screen for some reason. You can get up into the millions, the tens of millions, and the hundreds of millions in this game. So it is extremely enjoyable to just keep on going. You're also given a legendary perk at the end of round 30 if you do beat that boss. So it kind of nudges you to keep playing because it's like, oh, you just got this legendary perk. You don't want to stop, do you? Right? So if you're not going for a particular achievement, or maybe, you still have some free time, I would keep playing. One of the nice features about this game is that you are able to leave in the middle of your round. So say you just finished a round and you got to go to dinner, or maybe you got to go like feed the dog or something like that. You can just quit the game, and when you get back into it, you can continue your run exactly where you were. So I think that's just one feature that is so kind of just left out of a lot of games. And this one really, really takes care of you, I would say. In itself, performance-wise, I have to say that this game is one of the best running games on my computer. It's flawless. I mean, the movement is fantastic. Nothing really bugs. You don't really run into a lot of frame drops or anything like that, even in the later rounds. And I think that's one of the highlights of this game, is that it's just so smooth. And so even when you're playing with 2 or 3 other people, everything runs very, very well. I personally think that that is one of the main reasons why this game is done so well, because the perks, you'll basically kind of run into the same perks all the time. And while I do think that it can get boring, because obviously there's going to be good builds and obviously there's going to be bad builds. So you might be the type of person that just like, you want to crank out the damage as much as possible. So you'll see yourself running into the same exact type build occasionally. And that might get boring. But because this game runs so flawlessly, I never find myself really being upset that I might be doing something very similar to what I did just last game, because it plays so well. I'm always enjoying it. The music, I have to say, is fantastic. All of the tracks for this game were also made by the same DJ that developed the game, and every single one is just a bop. It's so nice. You just nod your head along to it as you're playing. You'll find yourself smashing shift and space, which is dash and jump, and you'll just be enjoying the obliteration of crabs and slugs all over the place. And then when it comes to the graphics are very smooth. They're nothing insane, but in itself, it looks very, very nice. All the biomes are unique. There's a lot of really nice things that you can look at. You're given a lot of freedom to kind of move vertically on the maps, and I think that's one of the nicest things. You can find yourself hanging out on a ledge that, you might not even consider part of the map. And I think that freedom is one of the other big highlights of this game. You're able to kind of do whatever you want. So you might find yourself falling from like 400 feet and just constantly pressing space as you slowly fall down. And every single time a crab does a jump, you flip, so that also just looked kind of funny. If you were on the fence for this game, or possibly just looking into this type of genre in general, I highly recommend Crab Champions to you guys. It is one of the most enjoyable games to play for me personally right now. I don't have a ton of time to play games, and I feel like this game is really, really fair with your time, basically. You won't find yourself playing it for too long, and if you have to stop in the middle of it with that feature that replays right where you left off, you're able to really not be too stressed if you're in the middle of like one of your best runs that had insane perk drops and you're like, oh god, I gotta go to dinner. Nah, it's fine. You just finish your round and then you leave, and you can pick back right up where you stopped. For me, this is definitely an 8 or a 9 out of 10. I know that's really high for any game, honestly, but for what it is and the amount that you're paying, I think that this is easily one of the best games in the first 6 months of this year. So if you guys have played it, definitely let me know what your builds are, what your favorite builds are, how much fun you're having. If you have any problems with the game, I'd love to know that as well, so we could talk about that. But as always, really appreciate it, guys. Thanks for the likes and the subscriptions, and I will see you on the next one.